Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ministers present and Honorable Deputy Ministers present, Honorable members of the NCOP and Honorable members of the National Assembly. When we rose to debate the State of the Nation address a year ago, we were debating a different country. That was not South Africa as we know it. It was South Africa pre-COVID-19. We stand now on the other side, devastated by loss and scrambling with the rest of the world to find a way out of this pandemic. Tragically, the South that we went into the pandemic was already in crisis. At last year's SONA, Your Excellency bravely pulled back the curtains of the window dressing of our so-called telling a good story. You pointed to the stark reality of economic stagnation, deepening unemployment, an energy crisis, and severe poverty. You lamented that despite everything that has been done to try to put the country back on track, that it was not enough. With that, with what can rightly be called the 20/20 hindsight, that was a devastating moment to reveal defeat, for we're about to be plunged into a new battle that would decimate both our resources and decimate our hope. Nevertheless, we are grateful that the government went into this battle under no illusions. The Director General in the Treasury had told us that the coffers of state were empty. We're no longer pretending that the country can go on as though resources are endless. The problem, Your Excellency, is the same problem I pointed to in last year's debate. The problem is corruption. I know it, you know it, sir. South Africa knows it. Despite the admission that South Africa is in an economic crisis, there were still those who saw a pandemic as the chance for themselves to get rich. The level of corruption and fraud that has assailed our fight against COVID-19 is unthinkable. It is seen by the world and felt by our people. With every death, a finger to blame falls on corruption. It is not merely COVID-19 that you are fighting. Yet I suspect, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that our fight against COVID-19 has a greater chance of success than our fight against corruption. And that is a terrible indictment, if I may say so. South Africa has repeatedly raised concerns at the World Health Organization. In May 2020, they warned that our leaders should not politicize this pandemic and engage in corruption. Now they are worried about our decision to halt the rollout of the AstraZeneca Oxford University vaccine. And we are racing against time. Our people are desperate for a vaccine. We are very pleased, Honorable Deputy Speaker, to hear that the first 80,000 doses arrived today. But in a country of almost 60 million people, it offers very little hope. How will the vaccine be accessed by ordinary people? When will it be available to everyone? In the absence of details and in the presence of corruption, our nation has very little to trust. And I must repeat, the insistent calls for the vaccine rollout tender process to be overseen by Parliament, Standing Committee of Public Accounts. Parliament must be able to perform its constitutional responsibility of oversight. We must halt the business as usual of maladministration and fraud in our country. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Your Excellency, honorable members, I'm not a fan of the decision to keep the theme for SONA 2021 the same as the theme for 2020. It suggests that everything has been put on hold over the past year, and that this is acceptable. Of course, the pandemic has demanded our focus, but our people, it has not been possible for them to put life on hold. Poverty has not halted in its onslaught, waiting for the pandemic to be over. Hunger will not abate. Disease will not be paused. We cannot wait for the day that our masks come off before we deal with the struggles of our people. Mere hopes and expectations are not enough. How does government predict a strong recovery in employment by the end of the year when further lockdowns are absolutely unpredictable? Even Your Excellency hesitated when saying this, as though thinking, by what, the end of the year? Even once the labor market has recovered from the pandemic, it must still recover from the past 26 years of indecisive economic policy in our country. We have a long road ahead of us indeed. Turning to local government, the SHBC News headline spoke volumes. Ramaphosa says the days of messing up are over, unquote. Finally, municipalities will be staffed with people who can actually do the job. Well, if this were a what's up, honorable members, we would put an emoji right here. Unfortunately, Honorable Deputy Speaker, training courses and programs will not magically create ethics in our civil service. To create a civil service that prides itself on ethical integrity, one needs to make integrity a job requirement together with competence. This brings us back to corruption. The SONA Commission has shown us much more than a compromised criminal justice system. It has left us questioning how deeply the rot actually goes. Government is now in the unable position of having to resuscitate an economy that was already headed for the trauma ward, if I may put it, long before COVID-19. How will it perform the balancing act of reviving the economy while pouring resources into the fight for lives? In this moment, our thoughts naturally turn to the many, Honorable Deputy Speaker, who have suffered loss, the deeply painful loss of loved ones, as well as the loss of income and opportunity, the loss of our people in this very house. We stand in solidarity with all those in the tourism and hospitality industry, as well as with our performing artists, whose very livelihood has been devastated. As we mourn the loss of greats like Dr. Sibongile Khumalo, Dr. Joseph Shabalala, Mary Twala, and many others, let us not neglect the greats of tomorrow. There are many who deserve our thanks for what they have done over the past year and for what they continue to do under extreme circumstances. And I want to thank every teacher who is back in the classroom today despite risk or fear. I want to thank all our frontline workers, those in essential services, and particularly the healthcare workers, including mental health. I also want to thank those who support our healthcare workers' organizations like the Chiva Africa, which under the leadership of Dr. Karen Marshall is supporting our rural healthcare workers as they continue to fight HIV/AIDS in the midst of a pandemic within a pandemic. As a nation, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we must thank the Serum Institute of India for its commitment of making Covishield available to the developing world. It seems most prescient now, Your Excellency, that I urge you in last year's SONA's debate to equip South Africa to become a center of medical innovation and research. We have great capacity and skills available in our country, both now and beyond this pandemic. We must empower our scientists, our researchers, and innovators. My deepest wish, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that future generations will look back on this time as the darkest night that preceded the dawn. Or as the President put it, the fire before new life blossoms. May there be new life in South Africa. It can still happen, honorable colleagues. We can bring it to pass. But it's going to take a shared effort with every one of us being afforded a role to play. South Africans deserve nothing less than the right to participate in the making of their own future. Your Excellency, I cannot allow this opportunity to pass without pleading with you again to resume the discussions on reconciliation between the ANC and the IFP. This too must not be placed on hold, awaiting the end of the pandemic. With every funeral I attend, I fear that we are losing the men and women who knew the truth about the past. The death of the Honorable Dr. Michael Khatebe must really ring alarm bells for all of us. Will the truth dying with them? Will it die with them? Or will we do what we must do within my lifetime? My President, will you make me close my eyes in death, in peace? Will you enable me to sing a song like another old man, Simeon in the New Testament, let your servant depart in peace? Finally, I wish to thank you, Mr. President, for good wishes. Peace, Majesty, the King of the Zulu Nation, and thank your Minister of Health. We thank him. I think we should not, this side of the aisle, say that because we're in opposition, that we should not stop opposing. It's our duty to oppose you. But I say at this time of gloom and doom, it is really less than childish for us to split hairs in trying to score political points. We are all grateful for the improvement on the King's condition. I thank you, sir. I thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Shenge.